Tourism offers countless benefits. For tourists, it provides the perfect getaway, a chance to explore diverse cultures, and an opportunity to learn more about the world. For tourism centers, especially in emerging economies and developing countries, it creates jobs and boosts the local economy. However, the disadvantages can be dire. Sometimes the dangers can turn a dream vacation into a nightmare, with tourists not living to share their experiences. Join us as we recount the stories of those who embarked on journeys across continents only to meet tragic ends far from home. Julie Ward has always had a keen eye for the natural world. Growing up in Bury St. Edmunds, her love for wildlife photography blossomed during family trips to the countryside. Her passion eventually led her to a career as a publishing assistant, where she balanced her job with her ever-growing portfolio of nature photographs. In February 1988, Julie decided to take a sabbatical, fulfilling a lifelong dream to photograph the wildlife of Africa. Kenya, with its renowned Masai Mara Game Reserve, seemed the perfect destination. Armed with her camera and an adventurous spirit, Julie embarked on a journey that would see her immersed in the heart of Africa's natural beauty for 7 months. Julie's time in Kenya was nothing short of magical. She spent countless hours capturing wildlife and formed bonds with local guides and fellow wildlife enthusiasts, including an Australian friend, Dr. Glenn Burns. As September approached, Julie was due to return to England in a week, but she felt she hadn't yet captured everything she wanted. On September 5th, Dr. Burns suggested one last trip to the Masai Mara, which Julie eagerly agreed to. Their vehicle broke down on a remote stretch of road. With limited options, Dr. Burns decided to return to Nairobi for help, while Julie opted to stay at the Mara Serena Lodge for the night. The following day, the vehicle was repaired, and Julie set out alone to the Sand River camp to retrieve some camping equipment. This was the last time anyone saw her alive. When Julie failed to return, her friends grew concerned. Dr. Burns reported her missing, prompting a search. Her father, John Ward, flew to Kenya, desperate to find his daughter. He hired a plane to scour the areas where Julie had camped, and after days of searching, a pilot spotted her vehicle in a gully next to a river. John rushed to the scene, fearing the worst. On September 13th, John Ward's worst nightmare became reality when he found Julie's burned and dismembered body among the ashes of a fire. The initial explanation by Kenyan officials that Julie had been struck by lightning and eaten by lions seemed implausible. John was relentless in his pursuit of the truth, and further investigation revealed that Julie had been murdered. The Kenyan coroner's report, which suggested animal predation, was found to be altered. A British pathologist confirmed that Julie had been dismembered with a machete, then doused in petrol and set alight. John Ward, a retired hotelier, dedicated his life and nearly £2 million to uncovering what happened to his daughter. His persistent efforts shone a light on the corruption and inefficiency within the Kenyan judicial system. He accused the Kenyan government and President Daniel Arap Moi of covering up the murder to protect their tourism industry. His tireless work led to multiple investigations and trials, but justice remained elusive. In 1992, 2 junior park rangers were acquitted of Julie's murder due to a lack of evidence. The judge recommended further investigation into the head park ranger, but no action was taken. In 1997, a new team of Kenyan police re-examined the case, and in 1998, Simon Ole Makala, the chief park warden at the time of Julie's murder, was arrested. However, he was acquitted in 1999 due to insufficient evidence. In a renewed push for justice, the case was reopened in 2009, but the facts remain the same. John Ward harbored a strong belief that Jonathan Moi, the son of President Daniel Arap Moi, was responsible for Julie's rape and murder. However, there was never enough evidence to substantiate these claims. Despite facing numerous obstacles, John remained undeterred in his quest for justice. John and his wife Diane continued their fight until they both died in 2023. Their dedication and determination to seek justice for Julie were unwavering, leaving a legacy for their sons Robert and Tim, who vowed to continue the investigation in honor of their parents. Born and raised in New York's artistic hub, Catherine Chappell's fascination with visual storytelling became evident at an early age. By the time she was in high school, she had already begun experimenting with visual effects, creating short films that showcased her budding talent. Her first significant career break came during the winter and spring of 2008 when she landed an internship at MSNBC. This opportunity allowed her to delve into the world of media, gaining valuable experience and honing her skills. However, it was at Scanline, a renowned visual effects company, where Catherine truly came into her own. At Scanline, Catherine's creative prowess flourished. Her work on hit series like Game of Thrones and blockbuster movies such as Captain America: The Winter Soldier and Divergence cemented her reputation as a talented visual effects editor. The pinnacle of her career came when she and her team received a Primetime Emmy Award for their outstanding visual effects in the Game of Thrones episode, The Children. Despite her professional success, Catherine's passions extended beyond the confines of her career. She harbored a deep love for wildlife and a desire to make a tangible difference in the world. In 2015, driven by this passion, she decided to embark on a journey to South Africa. Her mission was clear: to contribute to wildlife conservation and raise funds for Wildlife Act, a dedicated conservation charity. On June 1, 2015, Catherine's journey led her to Johannesburg's Lion Park, a renowned wildlife attraction known for its close encounters with majestic creatures. Accompanied by a tour guide from Calabash Tour, Pierre Pogieter, she set out to experience the park's offerings. The day was filled with awe-inspiring moments as they navigated through the park, capturing the beauty of the wildlife. As they entered the lion encampment, Catherine was captivated by the sight of a lioness. Drawn by the allure of capturing a perfect photograph, she made a decision that would prove fatal. She rolled down her window to get a better shot, unaware of the danger that lay ahead. In a matter of seconds, the lioness seized the opportunity, lunging forward and attacking Catherine. The attack was swift and brutal. Pierre Pogieter, displaying immense courage, tried to fend off the lioness and protect Catherine. His efforts were valiant, but the injuries Catherine sustained were severe and ultimately fatal. Despite his bravery, Pierre himself suffered injuries and was later hospitalized with a heart attack, a testament to the sheer intensity and horror of the encounter. The news of Catherine's tragic death sent shockwaves through her family, friends, and the global community. Her boyfriend, Grayson Hoare, was devastated. He had always been concerned about the challenges Catherine might face on her adventure, often reminding her of her urban upbringing and urging caution. His grief was palpable as he recounted his premonitions at her memorial gathering. Catherine's sister, Jennifer Chappell, delivered a heartfelt eulogy, capturing the essence of a young woman who embraced life with unbridled enthusiasm. As the world grappled with the news of Catherine's death, eyewitnesses came forward with their accounts of the tragic event. Ben Govender, who was in a car behind Catherine's vehicle, provided a detailed narration of the attack. He described the lioness standing on its rear paws, balancing on the car, and then lunging forward to grab Catherine through the open window. Ben's account revealed the horror and chaos that unfolded, with Pogieter desperately trying to save Catherine amidst the ferocity of the attack. The incident sparked a wave of public outcry and scrutiny. Questions were raised about the circumstances that led to Catherine's untimely demise. The Lion Park authorities defended their practices, reiterating that visitors were consistently instructed to keep their windows closed to ensure safety. Despite this, the tragedy of Catherine's death highlighted the inherent risks of such close encounters with wildlife. Amidst the grief and outrage, Catherine's mother, Mary Chappell, provided insight into her daughter's aspirations. Catherine had journeyed to South Africa not just for adventure, but to volunteer at a preserve dedicated to saving rhinoceroses and elephants. Her ultimate goal was to create a film that would shed light on the plight of animals facing poaching, a testament to her desire to use her skills for a more significant cause. While her journey was tragically cut short, the impact of her work and the memories she left behind continued to inspire those who knew her and those who heard her story. Shilpa Shah had always been a woman of adventure. At 60, she had seen much of the world, but this trip to Kenya was memorable. It wasn't just the majestic landscapes that drew her. It was the challenge of summiting Mount Kenya, Africa's second highest mountain. Together with 7 other women and their guides, she set out on October 20th, 2023, to conquer Point Lenana, the mountain's 3rd highest summit. The journey up had been challenging, but the view from the top had made every struggle worthwhile. Exhilarated by their success, the group began their descent along the narrow Moru route. This path, typically considered non-technical, had become treacherous with the onset of the short rainy season. Rainfall had turned stretches of the trail into slippery slopes, and recent snowfall had added patches of ice. Shilpa, leading the descent with her guide, Kelvin Murayuki Muwithi, was cautious but confident. Kelvin, a seasoned guide with an infectious smile, had been a reassuring presence throughout the climb. As they navigated a particularly icy section, Shilpa's footing faltered. In an instant, her boot lost traction, and she slipped. Kelvin lunged to grab her, his strong hands just missing her arm as she tumbled over the edge. The momentum of his reach pulled him along, and the two disappeared down the side of the mountain. The rest of the group, paralyzed by shock, could only watch in horror as their friend and guide vanished from sight. Although the rescue team made several attempts, each one thwarted by ice and snow, they finally found Shilpa and Kelvin. Both had succumbed to their injuries. Shilpa's body was transported to Nairobi, while Kelvin was taken to a hospital in central Kenya. The news hit the world very hard. Shilpa's family in London was devastated. She had passed down her adventurous spirit to them, and they knew she had lived fully to the end. In Kenya, Kelvin's family mourned a different kind of loss. He had been a provider, a father, and a husband, and the reality of his death was a harsh blow to those who depended on him. He approached life with a smile, and his cheerful demeanor became a source of inspiration for many. Friends and colleagues fondly remembered him as someone whose presence brought warmth and positivity, regardless of the circumstances. His untimely death, leaving behind a wife and a toddler, was a tragic reminder of life's unpredictability. Robert Kamaru, a close friend of Mr. Muwithi, expressed his sorrow in an online tribute. He spoke of broken hearts and the pain that came with losing such a dear friend. Mr. Muwithi's actions profoundly moved Shilpa Shah's family during the tragic event. In the wake of the incident, they initiated a fundraiser to support the guide's family, a gesture reflecting their deep appreciation and grief. The campaign saw an overwhelming response, raising over £35,000 within the first week. The Shah family hoped that the funds would provide some measure of comfort and security to the Muwithi family, offering them a brighter future despite their heartbreaking loss. The fundraiser was not just about financial aid, it was a collective act of solidarity and compassion, a way for the community to show that Mr. Muwithi's family was not alone in their grief. Back in 2009, Ani Hindocha met Shriyan Dewani in London. Ani, a Swedish woman of Indian origin, and Shriyan, a businessman, quickly formed a connection despite living in different countries. Their relationship blossomed through long-distance communication, and they maintained this connection until March 2010, when Ani made the significant decision to move to the UK. Just 2 months later, in May 2010, they became engaged, marking the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. The couple's relationship remained committed to each other, and they decided to solidify their bond with a wedding. On October 29, 2010, Ani and Shriyan got married at a beautiful ceremony at Lake Powai near Mumbai, India. The wedding was a grand affair, attended by family and friends who celebrated their union with joy and excitement. After their wedding, Ani and Shriyan planned to hold a civil ceremony in the UK in 2011 for friends who could not attend their Indian wedding. But before they could do that, they embarked on a honeymoon vacation to South Africa. The couple landed at Cape Town International Airport on November 7, 2010, and then took a domestic flight to Kruger National Park, where they stayed for 4 nights, enjoying the breathtaking beauty of the African wilderness. On November 12th, they returned to Cape Town International Airport, where they met a local taxi driver named Zola Tongo. Tongo drove them to the 5-star Cape Grace Hotel, where they checked in and began exploring the vibrant city. They retained Tongo as a tour guide, eager to experience the best the city had to offer. On November 13th, Tongo drove the couple through the city in his Volkswagen Sharon. They ventured into Gugulethu, a township in Cape Town, and then headed to Surfside Restaurant in the Strand suburb, where they enjoyed a meal together. The evening was pleasant, filled with laughter and conversations about their future. However, their night took a dark turn as they drove back to Gugulethu. Shortly after they turned off the main road, 2 armed men hijacked the vehicle. The assailants forced Tongo out of the taxi, leaving Ani and Shriyan alone with their attackers. Shreen was robbed of his money, wallet, designer watch, and mobile telephone. After driving for about 20 minutes, Shreen was also ejected from the vehicle. He found himself on the street, disoriented and terrified, with only the memory of Annie remaining in the taxi. A bystander noticed Shreen and assisted him by calling the police. The authorities arrived promptly and began their search for Annie and the missing vehicle. At 7:50 a.m. the next day in Lingalathu West, the police found Annie Dewani. She was in the back of the Volkswagen Sharon taxi, lifeless. Annie had suffered a single gunshot wound to her neck. The scene was heart-wrenching, and the gravity of the situation weighed heavily on everyone present. Annie's Giorgio Armani wristwatch, a white gold and diamond bracelet, her handbag, and her BlackBerry mobile telephone were missing, presumed stolen. The estimated value of the stolen items was around 90,000 rands, equivalent to about $6,000. The news of Annie's tragic death spread quickly, sending shockwaves through both their families and the communities they were part of. This devastating loss overshadowed the joyous memories of their recent wedding. Investigations began in earnest, with the police working tirelessly to piece together the events that led to Annie's untimely death. In the immediate aftermath, 3 men were apprehended: Mziwamadota Kwabe, Zolile Mngeni, and Mondem Bolombo. Their initial confessions painted a picture of an opportunistic robbery gone horribly wrong. Annie Dewani, a tourist in a foreign land, had tragically become a victim of circumstance. However, as the investigation unfolded, the story took a darker turn. Facing the prospect of life imprisonment, Kwab and Umbalombo shifted their narratives, alleging that the crime had been a premeditated murder orchestrated by none other than Annie's husband, Shreen Dewani. The notion of a murder-for-hire scheme was almost too fantastical to believe. Shreen Dewani was portrayed as the mastermind who had supposedly conspired with the first taxi driver he encountered upon arriving in Cape Town. Although shocking, this claim found its way into global headlines, casting a shadow over Shreen Dewani's previously untarnished reputation. Taxi driver Zola Tongo, initially insisting on his innocence, eventually crumbled under the mounting evidence and the testimonies of his co-conspirators. Realizing that his fate was sealed, Tongo also pointed the finger at Shreen, claiming that the businessman had indeed solicited the murder of his wife. In a bid to secure lighter sentences, Tongo, Quabe, and Umbalombo entered into plea bargains, agreeing to testify against those they implicated in the heinous plot. In December 2010, Tongo pleaded guilty to murder and received an 18-year prison sentence. Quabe followed suit in August 2012, admitting his guilt and being sentenced to 25 years behind bars. Mngeni, despite maintaining his innocence throughout, was found guilty in November 2012 and sentenced to life imprisonment. Mondem Umbalombo, while admitting his involvement, was granted immunity in exchange for his testimony, a controversial decision that many saw as a necessary evil to secure convictions against the primary actors in the crime. South African prosecutors, armed with the confessions and the damning testimonies, pursued charges against Shreen Dewani. The narrative of a husband orchestrating his wife's murder for personal gain or convenience was compelling, albeit macabre. Dewani's extradition from the UK to South Africa in 2014 marked the pinnacle of a lengthy and arduous legal battle. Supporters of Dewani vehemently denied the accusations, labeling them as baseless and preposterous. How could a grieving husband, barely acclimated to a new country, conspire such a brutal act with a stranger? The defense argued that the prosecution's case was built on the unreliable testimonies of men who had proven themselves willing to lie for personal benefit. In December 2014, the Western Cape High Court acquitted Dewani, with the judge ruling that there was no credible evidence linking him to the murder of his wife. Despite the acquittal, the factual circumstances surrounding Annie Dewani's death remained shrouded in mystery. Carol Sue Kirkin, a 75-year-old woman from Michigan, was no ordinary septuagenarian. An enduring spirit of adventure marked her life, as did a commitment to helping others and a relentless drive that saw her through multiple successful careers. She began her career as a skincare nurse at Crittenton Hospital, where her dedication to patient care set her apart. As the years went by, Carol's expertise and reputation grew, leading her to work with a plastic surgeon. This phase of her career not only honed her skills further, but also provided her with insights into the business side of healthcare. It was these insights that sparked her entrepreneurial spirit, leading to the creation of her own business in 1991 with Arbonne International, serving as a national vice president and private consultant. Beyond her professional life, Carol was a pillar of her community. Her work with the Rochester Area Women's Fund, which she co-founded, showcased her commitment to empowering women and supporting local development projects. Her role as a board director of the North Oakland Young Men's Christian Association, YMCA, further underscored her dedication to community service. On August 5, 2017, Carol and her family embarked on what was meant to be a perfect getaway, a safari in Tanzania. The trip was a long-anticipated adventure, a celebration of family and the natural wonders of the world. Carol's husband, children, and grandchildren were all part of this memorable journey. Among them was her son, Robert Kirkin, a university dean from Corpus Christi, Texas. The family reveled in the majestic sights of the African savanna, observing the rich tapestry of wildlife that roamed freely. On the fateful day of Carol's tragic death, the family had spent the morning watching a mass migration of hippos and bull elephants. It was a sight that filled Carol with awe and wonder, and she eagerly shared her excitement in a final Facebook post. However, the day took a dark turn when a hippo unexplainably killed Carol. The circumstances surrounding Carol's death remain unclear, but it was reported that the animal attacked her. The attack was sudden and brutal, leaving little time for reaction. Carol died quickly in the arms of her son, Robert. The news of Carol's death was a devastating blow to her family and friends. Her vibrant presence, her passion for life, and her unwavering commitment to helping others left a void that could never be filled. The Rochester Hills community, where she had lived and worked for so many years, mourned her loss deeply. She was remembered as a bundle of energy who lit up every room she entered, a woman whose impact was felt far and wide.